Can we not make this a Leicester little fucking get together and start?
Fucking hell.
Who's got you on the White Monsters, Wrighty? Cox.
Yeah, mate, they're so
Cox
good.
and Lad.
Cox is like that all the time. Fucking hands going left, right, and centre.
Yeah, to be fair. Right. Anyway, let's go for it while we can. Welcome everyone to the Bowlers Union. Keith and Chris Wright. I fucked it up. Let's go again. Welcome to the Bowlers Union, everyone. Chris Wright and Keith Barker here as usual, but we've been joined by two extra special guests today. We have got Hampshire's Scott Currie and Leicestershire's Tom Scriven, and these guys both share. We played with each other, all four of us, for different teams. So we've got quite a fun vibe for you tonight. Let's firstly check in with you all. How are you all doing?
All good. All good, thank you.
Yeah, all good, Rossi. Thanks, mate. Pleasure to be here.
You sound like it is.
No, I am, mate. Barks teed this up a few weeks ago, so I'm looking forward to this. This could be anything.
Well, yeah, no, look, to be fair, I'm looking forward to it. This is just what I need after a hot day in the sun at Kibworth, slogging away. And so a fun episode is exactly right. Should we start off with some quick fire questions, Keith?
Yes, okay, please. You put me on the spot there, right? You're going to have to help me out. So, guys, swing or nip?
Nip.
Nip.
Scrib, you're lying, Scrib.
Pace or bounce?
Bounce.
Pace.
Nick off or bold?
Nick off.
Nick off.
Backhand slowy or knuckleball?
Knuckleball.
Yeah, knuckle.
Good bouncer or a good Yorker?
Yorker.
Good Yorker.
There you go, Chris. There you go. We haven't had that for a while, actually, have we?
No, most people choose bumpers because they've got some minerals.
Yeah, so tell me, right, did you know something? Scriv give an incorrect answer to one of those or what?
What did Scrib go for? I think that Scrib is either sitting. No, he's moving. I thought he was so still. Then I thought he'd frozen. I felt like you were 100% going to choose swing there, but you know.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, because what was your angle? You swing it around all over the gaff, don't you? Or am I imagining that?
Yeah, well, I don't know, but if the classic thing, isn't it? If you ask a batter, what do they prefer? They probably prefer someone to swing the ball or they find it harder anyway to face the ball that's nipping maybe than swinging. So, yeah.
Fair enough. You know what I'm enjoying? Firstly, it's just being on here with three Southerners.
You're spot on there.
One North v. That's a better quickfire question. North v South.
Yeah, South all day.
South.
Isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Just all round.
It's not so cricket related, that is it?
Yeah, South. Has to be, doesn't it?
Apparently, they have better drinking water up north, though.
Cleaner water.
Why is that?
Just a better place to be, isn't it?
No,
Anyway.
I think that's a fair comment. I don't know about you, Barks, but the water in Southampton's quite hard, isn't it?
It's actually disgusting.
I think when I was living in Leicester, I thought it was actually there was something in the water at Swindles' place, definitely. But yeah, down here it's
the magic of Belmont.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm just trying to. Do you not drink bottled water then?
No,
Are you always tap water?
Tap water, mate. I've not got the funds that you have to keep just going out to all these expensive shops and buying massive bottles of water every day.
I literally called you the other day, and you were eating a Wagyu steak from M&S. So you can't. This water is like. This was like £2 for 12 bottles of Sainsbury's British still spring water.
Do you shop at Sainsbury's, Chris? Is that where you shop?
Mix it up a bit.
Ocado mostly.
I do
Home
like
delivery.
M&S, and M&S do a good value range
M&S.
these days. So it's actually a bit of a myth that it's that expensive.
Yeah.
It's better for the Menti H as well than some other shops out there, I have to say.
Yeah, with you.
I went to Sainsbury's in Leamington a Saturday or so ago, and Sainsbury's is a good establishment, I think. It was carnage. It wasn't a good experience at all. I'll just say that. It was,
Are you on the scan and shop? You know, where you go around with a gun.
No, I did see someone using it though, and I said to the missus, "This is game changer, but you need your Nectar card."
That's me, mate. I'm all over that.
Yeah, well,
Love it.
So you're a sort of man I think I can ask about this, because I know that you'll have thought about this. Why are you in there doing your shop? Surely you should be doing an online shop because it's more efficient.
No, but I think the way the schedule is for us, it's hard to know when you're actually going to be at home to accept the delivery. So I like going and doing it myself, and I've got it. That's my take on it.
To be fair, that's pretty when that is next level. When I'm assuming you don't have a family we don't know about, right?
No, not at the moment, mate.
Yeah. So when you've got a family and stuff, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not about your schedule so much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then you might be thinking, you've got to balance in the time and effort cost of going versus that £7 to £4 delivery fee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Scriv, your mum still makes your food, doesn't she? And washes your
Oh,
clothes.
here he is. Jesus. I was thinking though, who actually online shops that's like young?
I don't know.
I don't reckon any of the Leicester lads online shop. They're in their 20s.
No, definitely not a Leicester.
What does that mean?
That Aldi gets battered outside the ground.
No, it does. Yeah, you're not wrong. Now that is carnage. If you want a carnage shop, Aldi at 4 p.m. midweek. Prepare yourselves for what you're about to see. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Should we transition into cricket, lads? Or...
yeah, can do.
This has been very good fun. Yeah, go on, Keith, because we've got some. To be fair, we've got loads of questions. Where do you actually want to start? Do you want to start with stuff about the development of these two, or what?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, I'll ask it's to both of you, but start with you, Scriv. Obviously, you were at Hampshire, and you were trying to make your way and stuff, and obviously didn't work out how you wanted, but you've moved to Leicester, and you've actually become quite an important player in the team. How did you find it moving clubs, and then two, kind of finding your feet and becoming such an important player in the team?
To be fair, in terms of the transition, I've obviously only ever done it once, but it was a really easy transition in terms of like meeting the guys in the teams. Obviously, one of the big points of moving team is the different people you meet, and whether that's coaches or players. But as a playing group, I felt I was extremely lucky with the team I kind of came into, in terms of there's a lot of good people in there, a lot of good blokes, which made it quite easy to be welcomed and stuff, which was nice. I think as a team, maybe we weren't where we wanted to be, but I think over a few seasons of like hard work, I feel like we've moved in a positive direction, which is really nice to be kind of part of a team that's kind of aspiring to kind of win things, which I think maybe wasn't the same mentality, or they weren't getting the output of that maybe a few years back. So in that side of stuff, I feel very, very lucky to have moved. It's obviously never easy leaving your boyhood club, and at the time you're thinking, I guess, a lot of things. To be honest with you, that negatives, positives, whether it's doubts, things like that. But I feel very fortunate to have moved.
And Scott, for yourself, obviously you were kind of on the way up, and you had a really good year, your first year, and the T20s and stuff like that. How did you find that first season for yourself in the T20s?
Yeah, I thought I had a lot of good fortune early on in my career, Barks. We both probably benefited from the COVID season, because I think, well, certainly for me, that was my first year signed professionally, and obviously 4 months of it was wiped out, wasn't it? So when we then returned in August, we probably Hampshire more so than anyone, because we didn't have the overseas guys, that sort of meant opportunity arose, and I was pretty slow to start there. I played a few of the T20s and didn't play particularly well. and then played one of the Bob Willis games, the last one. Did okay, showed a pretty good account of myself, and I think that gave the coaches maybe some idea that I might be all right or might do okay at that level. And then 2021 was again the same sort of thing. I played a championship game at the start, and that was all again still behind closed doors, and you're sort of finding your way. You're a bit wet behind the ears and all the rest of it. But the T20 went really well, and I really benefited from playing. And I think like most journeys along the way, you're a young player, it's incredibly sort of volatile, isn't it? You go through good patches and then bad ones, and you probably don't quite have the reserve to know why it's not gone well, or you pick up an injury and you don't quite have the knowledge or the nous to deal with it, and then you sort of fall off and you have to build yourself back up again. But I'd say my journey's been one of quite a fair bit of luck and good fortune, but also then some harder times along the way.
You obviously use the loan system. I want to say to great effect. Let's just say it's to great effect. Would you recommend that to any like young aspiring performer, or because obviously what the alternative is the kind of maybe the up and down from ones to twos, or maybe even just twos, but you were like, nah, you came and did a season-long loan at Leicestershire.
Mm.
Would you recommend that to, I'd say, your peers? But
I think it's very, very dependent on what your situation is, Wrighty, and I don't think it's necessarily a one-size-fits-all. I think we'd all agree that you only get better by playing, and probably playing first-team cricket, whether that's Div 2, Div 1, North Group, South Group, whatever it may be. Second-team cricket obviously serves a purpose, but I don't think it's a secret amongst pros anymore that it's maybe not what it used to be. And I don't know why that is. I don't know really why second-team cricket's gone that way, but certainly for me and the way I see it, and this is obviously just my opinion, that if you use the loan system correctly and you buy into the club you're going on loan to, if you buy into the ethos, then I think it was certainly for me, I said this at the end of season at Leicester, that it was, that year changed my life, and it's one of the best years I've had in cricket. And I'd certainly recommend it to anyone who felt they could go that way and use it to their effect. I think it's tricky, and I know it happens a lot, but lads go on like 1, 2, maybe 3 game loans, and you almost don't get the same feel for it. You're sort of in and out, and you see lads that play with no sort of name or number on the back, and they think you don't really belong. But actually what I had at Leicester was a chance to be there. I came in September 2023, if you remember, played a few games then, knowing I was going to come back for the whole year, and I really felt welcomed, embraced, and that year, I'd never forget that year. And who knows what lies down the road, but if I ever ended up back at Leicester, I would cherish that immensely, because I've had some great moments in a Leicester shirt.
What you've just reminded me of. Am I right in thinking you were there was a game at Durham away that was the year before?
Yeah, it was the last game of 2023. Yeah,
the Taddy.
Yes, I went. Did you have a niggle or something? Because that was a game where a guy called Will Davis knew that he was basically retiring at the end of this game, but he came up. He thought he'd come up just to be in the squad. He got, but like the most drunk you've ever seen him at, like obliterated, and then all of a sudden was in the team.
I don't know what we can and can't say on here. I don't want to shame anyone and all the rest of it, but no, I went. I remember chatting to Parky, and he was like, "Well, you've come on loan. There's no way you're not playing." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I hope I am." And then I remember Fonz going, "You're not playing," and I didn't have a niggle or anything. I was, I thought I was playing. I was like, "Oh, it's the last game of the season, fair enough." And he says, "Davo's going to play. It's his last game for Leicester." And I do remember Davo the night before was probably a little bit worse for wear, rocking up at the ground. And I never forget that the change room at Durham, I was on the balcony, walked back in, and Davo's face just dropped because he knew what was coming. That was quite some week, definitely. I remember a few boys hanging their boots up and stuff like that. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's the best bit of that, was that I think on that morning of that day, Davo, as a joke, had hung his boots up on his locker because he thought he wasn't playing. And then obviously they've had that transition. You just see him slowly just taking his boots down and putting them on to bowling the warm-ups, and everyone's just like,
I'm pretty sure, didn't Bellingham get 100 as well? Belt him everywhere.
Yeah. It was a dark.
Bellingham was on one, to be fair, when he played so well. But that was a tough day.
Yeah, it was. Ah, good times. Good times. Yeah, I do remember that. And then obviously, so that was year one, and then you did the full year the following year. But obviously, I didn't get to play loads with you that year for obvious reasons, which is a bit of a shame. My other story, Bart. I don't know if I've told you this. The first time I saw Scriv, I'm pretty sure I was about 25 overs in on a stinking hot day, like horrible, like going around the park. Looked up to the top of the stand, and our new signing was in the top of the stand with his rig out, sunbathing. I remember looking up thinking, who is this clown that we've just signed? Literally just had everything, all his clothes off.
Scriv, just say, if you wanted to start off on the worst foot ever with Wrighty, you did exactly that.
Oh, so good. That was against what you guys. They're playing Worcester. I think Hassan Azad batted unbelievably well, didn't he? Didn't he survive the day or something? He batted like a whole day to survive 9 down, and Buren Hendricks played as well, didn't he? And they batted together to survive. And I think, and I was there in the top two. I think Al Evans was with me, a fellow Southerner, Al Evans. I had my rig out, to be fair. And I was pretty pale as well, so like it was probably a bit like.
That's how I saw
Parky
you.
saying the same.
It was like a glare from the top. Was that?
No, it was.
I'm trying to think. Was that? That might also. I'm telling stories here. We had a physio at Leicester called Will Garvey, who I'm super fond of, and he's a details man, Garv, right? And essentially, his mum had bought him like this set of like beer towels. Like he was like, I don't know if they were let's say special beer towels or what, but either way, they were a gift from his mum, and they meant a lot to him. That's all I'll say. Anyway, there was a bit of rain that dusted the outfield, and we didn't want the ball to get wet. And you know when people always shout like, "Has anyone got towels?" Right? Nico found these towels. He just took some scissors to see these towels and just hacked them to bits to distribute to the team. And it was Will Garvey's like special towels. I remember him being like mortified, and Nico was just like, just hacking people's belongings to bits. Amazing. Sorry, I think that was the same game, but so I just wanted to let you know about the shirt off because I thought you'd enjoy that.
That doesn't surprise me with Scrib, mate. Scrib was very much kind of just not fully with it at Chris when he was at Hampshire. I felt like nothing bad, but just a bit drifty.
We had some good laps though, Keith.
Well, it's because people are laughing at you for Scrib, but now, in all seriousness, I was interested to see when you'd signed for Leicester. I was like, how is Scrib going to find Wrighty? Because I'm a toned down version of Wrighty because of just me and Hampshire. We just try and make it work a bit better. Whereas you're going to get the full force of Wrighty. So how was it adjusting to Wrighty as a senior pro when you came into the team?
You know what? He didn't give me much bant for a while. To be fair, he didn't really speak too much to me. That old school hardened pro, giving you a tough time, riding you a bit, one of those. So it just took a bit of time to warmth to me. But no, to be fair, I'd obviously spoke to you, Keith, quite a lot about life off just to kind of see what he's like, and you obviously were like best mates with him and stuff. So I was intrigued to kind of see how he was. And I think we actually first talked, Chris, having like a coffee at Geno's. It was like a group of us, and there's Geno's like a coffee place in Leicester a lot of lads go to, and I think that's where we first kind of probably spoke about bowling and stuff like that, and that's when I realised, you are probably we call like one of the squids, say, in the team. Chris was probably up there as one of the leaders of the squids. But I did, I found it very interesting just to talk to him and pick his brains because he's there's a lot of knowledge there that I've just tried to plug into over the last few years.
How did you find Wrighty, Scott, when you went on?
My first memory of Wrighty was, and I don't know if the viewers know about this or you've delved into it at all, Wrighty, but Wrighty's got a very specific sort of routine of a game day or like a pre-game routine that, and I'd never seen anyone do this before. I'd heard, stories that lads have got weird and wonderful things, but Wrighty was in the bath at like 8:30 in the morning. And I was like, I've never seen a bloke like just about to go and play cricket. He's having a bubble bath. I'm like, what have I walked into here? But that was his routine, and I never had an issue, never struggled with Wrighty at all. I found it all pretty straightforward. I think it's when someone joins on loan, you don't warm to them straight away because it's like that almost the outsider feel to it. But I think because I was there then for a longer period of time. Same as Scriv, like I'm always, ears open to what senior guys have got to say. I've always got immense respect for, the two of you who have played so much cricket. There's something to be learned at every step of the way. But yeah, my first memory of Wrighty was in getting out of bath at 8:30 in the morning or whatever. But yeah,
and they're weird baths as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like you're almost in like the fetal position in the bath because they're quite
it's like
small.
sitting in a dustbin, Keith, but just not as tall. Yeah.
I look good in a bath though, in a bubble bath. I think that's when I look my best.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to think again if this was the year before or not. One thing I do remember playing with you was I rocked up a little bit later than I would like to at Hove, and I went to go for my favourite spot in the changing room, which is in that far corner by the showers, and you were there, and I was like, "Fucking stop." Yeah, I was spewing. So I think I went back out into the other bit thinking, oh, my God. But I can't remember what year that was.
Yeah, that would have been 2023. Yeah,
that was when we almost chased 500.
That was my first game as well.
Was it 400 or 500?
But it was like 480, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Was that the one where... No, hang on. I've played in some weird games there because Vian and
that was the year before.
Got millions there the year before.
Yeah, that was the year before.
Then 23 was September, and the wicket was a bit dicey initially, but then it got flatter and flatter, and we nearly chased 480. That's when Umar Amin played. Do you remember Umar?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, there was a bit going on, wasn't there?
And then last year was the one where Kimber got 200.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Did you play that game last year?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Kimber's one. Yeah, I did.
That was a few beers in that little pub on the walk home.
That's good. It, yeah.
Yeah. And we had Rishi Patel thinking Cruz Campo was a footballer or whatever it was.
That's Sussex away is where you see the best of Wrighty. He loves that little lifestyle, walking to and from the ground.
Yeah.
Drinking red wine if he finds a spot where he have a little tipple. There was one time we actually played there. And I've never seen his ego go so big. And this woman was clearly desperate. But we went to this fish and chip restaurant.
Regency,
that was it. And she just complimented him by saying, "Oh, you look like Cannavaro." No, was it? Yeah, Cannavaro.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, he's the biggest 1990s Italian football fan. I reckon we went there every night. He was just looking for compliments.
Yeah, I was fishing. That was a good moment, to be honest. But no, it's a nice week, Ryan. But before we get on to how bad a bloke Keith is, because I don't think I was not nice to either of you. That would make my missus upset. I feel like I just get to know someone. You know what I mean? I don't just jump straight in there with fake energy. I want to get to know people.
I'm exactly the same. It takes me a while. I can't ball into a room and sort of give it big ones. I have to sort of suss it out. So I completely understand it. If it's on the other foot, you're always skeptical. You're like, what's his bant type thing. But yeah, I completely get it.
Yeah, no, I've very much enjoyed your company. So apologies if I've ever made you feel like I haven't. Would I have been trying to get you to drink a proper coffee and not a latte in Geno's script?
To be fair, I think back then I was having just tea. I don't think I was even on the coffee train then yet. I think I was literally just having tea or a hot chocolate or a famous Keith Barker hot chocolate with extra cream.
Have I ever told you about I must have told you about the time we went to Costa. And I think we were at Costa and basically you ordered hot chocolate with extra hot chocolate But before they do that, they've got to put marshmallows in, but not just in. They have to put them in first, so it gets them all melted and gooey, and then at the end again.
Right, let's just get it straight. Right, hot chocolate, large hot chocolate with extra scoops of chocolate, marshmallows and cream, extra marshmallows. Simple as that.
That's it. I've seen that order.
I'm pretty sure I was at the Costa in Henley and Arden, and you messaged me that order. And I remember you being like, "Oh my god!"
Bosh, you would have told
how
the Radler milkshake story on here, wouldn't you?
The Radler milkshake. Hold on.
Your favourite milkshake place at Radler?
No.
Okay,
No, go on. I can't even
no,
remember.
that's all right. No, don't worry.
Come on, Scott.
Doesn't quite beat Dubai or whatever it was.
No, it's just wasn't it you had you're a frequent visitor to this milkshake place at Radler? You took a fancying to it.
I do remember it now. Yeah, I remember going there, but I can't remember.
Okay, don't worry then. I don't want to get the details wrong.
I can't remember.
You can always put a bit of tax on it, Scott.
Yeah, that's the issue though, isn't it? You're like, yeah.
So come on then. How bad of a block was I as a teammate?
Can I jump in first?
Oh shit!
Yeah.
My first, Scriven will remember this as well because I think he was there. It was not my first, but one of my early recollections. So I played a bit of second team with you, Barks, in 2019, I think it was. And obviously I was a young lad, and we sort of bonded over football, but it was like the way of, we sort of like, I don't know if you remember this, but we'd kind of like take the mick out of each other when we were still playing football in the warm-ups.
Right.
And you'd leave a leg in on me, I'd try and leave a leg in on you, that sort of dynamic. But I remember one of my favourite Keith Barker stories is we were at Hove. It was the first game of the Bob Willis Trophy. And we were in I obviously remember the COVID change rooms where we were in the indoor school at Hove. It's a big open changing room, and like we played poorly, Barks. I didn't play. It was my first trip. It was like 12 man, but we played poorly all week. We had a very young side, and Sussex won. Ollie Robb was playing. Phil Salt was still there at the time. Ben Brown. So they had a good side. And I remember Barks, like the footballer in him came out that day because it was like an old school dressing down. Like, I've not left Warwickshire to come here and play with you jokers. Like, pull your fingers out. There's a few more expletives, but I don't want to get into it. But I was sat there sort of like, this is quite funny to listen to. This is what I've signed up for.
Do you know what? There was more to that. There was a lot more to it than just that, right? I think you'll understand my pain at this point with what I'm going to tell you. So, like, COVID year, a lot of new youngsters and were training and stuff like that. But you know, when you just see the standard like drop in, like, we were doing fielding practice, and I was just seeing like lads drop catches and then just hide the ball over like the coach's head, and the coach just like having to get it after. I'm like, this is not the standard what we should be aiming for. So there was a bit of a build up, right? And then we played Sussex. I've gone in the knee, but still played, right?
Yeah.
I have Felix Organ at cover. Harry came at point. Catch goes to point. Came drop. I think Harry Kane dropped it. Just Dolly dropped it. It is what it is, right? They dropped it fine. Walking back. As I'm walking back, him and Felix Organ are joking around, having a laugh. I've just seen red. Like, no. All right, you drop a catch. But I'm not having that. I'm not having you lot just take the piss here and think it's all fun and games playing at St. Cross. And how good's this? No, I'm not into that. So I was like ticking there. My knee's gone. And then we needed 250 in 5 sessions. 50 runs a session. Pretty easy. But we got bowled out in a session. Just maybe just over a session. But Tom Alsop was batting and it was ragging square. I think he ran down to, was it Carson?
Yeah.
Carson. Like struggling, he's struggling to get a run. And he's run down, swung, tried to hit it over mid-arm, ragged past him, stumped. I wanted to see the physio because my knee is gone. And as I'm about to see him, we lose like 2 wickets. I've then got to pad up. Then Gorton bounces me, I duck it, my knee just like shatters.
Sorry,
I'm blowing up inside. I then try and take a quick single. I set off, realise I can't make it. I hobble. Someone shies at the stumps. I'm halfway down. They miss, and I walk and get in. Right?
Yeah.
We have a chat at the end of the game, and our head coach is like, "Boys, you guys, you know cricket. I talked to you about cricket. You know your cricket, but what I've just seen there, that's not telling me you know cricket."
Is this 80?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Is this 80?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've then just gone, "Oh, can I just say something?" So yeah. I was like, 80. I went, 80. I think they're playing you. I think they're talking as though they know cricket, but they have no fucking idea, because that was a shit show, basically. So I've then said, like, right, put your hands up if you like being a professional cricketer. So everyone's obviously put their hands up. I'm teeing this up for a horrible reaction. So everyone's put their hands up. I went, keep your hands up if you think you've been a professional over the last few weeks and playing in this game. And like you could just see hands like kind of like.
God.
And then I just kind of went off a bit and just said, I haven't come here to babysit, basically, and like play with kids. Like, you need to sort yourselves out.
But
That's what happened.
Amazing.
And then with my knee, they made me play the next game.
Yeah.
Turns out I chipped bone in my knee and no cartilage. So I played a game and a half with no knee. So I reached boiling point, Chris. So there was a bit more to it than that. But
the larger point is that that was my first sort of real taste of it, and like that kind of aligned with, because I take it incredibly seriously, like as you boys know. But I was like, okay, yeah, this is great. Like, this is what I want. Obviously, no one wants to be sat in those change rooms after games, because we've all been there and you're sort of staring at the floor and stuff. But I was like, this is, they mean business. We're here to win. And I thought, yeah, I'll keep on Barks' good side. But yeah, I loved it.
No, yeah, you know what? Every now and again, I feel like maybe in the modern game, people are a little bit afraid of a good old-fashioned spray. And actually, you know what? It can clear the air beautifully. Like, if it's delivered like in the right way, like that, with the hands up. I mean, that's quite funny. But like, it's nothing to be afraid of, is it? It's passion. Like, you should disagree every now and again, have a bit of a blow up and a dressing down. Well, that's all part of it. Speaking of the drop catch thing and them laughing at you, yours truly, below me, had this at the start of the year. Yeah.
No way.
God, Tom, you want to tell us?
It must be a little bit of a Hampshire groupie thing. I don't get why you'd be laughing, Scriv.
No, I wasn't laughing.
He was the bowler. He dished out the spray.
I respect you there, Scriv.
Yeah. Thanks.
There you go.
Basically the same. Well, a similar-ish thing happened. I got it wrong, to be fair, basically. But it was. I think we played. It was Notts, wasn't it? Rather than it was Notts or the Uni or Leeds, one of the games in the pre-season, and basically there was just a nick off that actually flew as well. Like, it went very, very fast. It would have been a very good slip catch, because Grace Road's pretty horrible for nicks, because you kind of got to get really close, but then they kind of fly. But a lot of the time if they carry, they'll fly, and if not, they just drop short, like real short. And Sol, who doesn't like normally say field in the slips, happened to be at third slip, stood really close pre-season. It's freezing. I think it was quite late on in the session as well. Nick happens, like, flies through, and he gets a hand on it, but it like doesn't carry or something, or he doesn't catch it. And I then kind of turn to kind of like just look over and see where the ball is, and I saw like he was laughing and stuff with Kimber, but like. And I then kind of like, I'm like chuntering to Wrighty, like, what the fuck they're fucking laughing at and this stuff. I think Wrighty tried to like basically not laugh, as I'm like losing my head. Like, basically, like, he wasn't exactly like on my side there. And then I dished out a bit of a spray to Sol. I then quickly apologised, because I realised I was probably in the wrong there. But that did happen in the pre-season game, yeah.
I've lost respect because you apologised.
I knew Barks wasn't going to like that. You got to stand with it, Barks.
What was the point? What was the point in spraying it?
Yeah.
No, yeah, fair.
Because basically, what you for you spraying him, it's like, I'm expecting to catch that. He may not catch the next one, but that's your expectation. The fact, it was tough. All right then. Cheers.
In all seriousness,
no, but it wasn't the drop catch. It was the fact he laughed. Yeah, I didn't care that he dropped it. It was the laugh which just rattled me.
You'll like this, boys. Actually, I dished out a little spray the other day, and I loved it. And I could feel it bubbling up inside me. Right. So basically, there's a guy at Leicestershire who does the social media, and I've been trying to collaborate with him. Right. And I message him a lot. And try and tag Leicestershire. I invite for collaborations on reels and stuff like this. And then on this occasion, I messaged and I was like, "Look, I've got some good ideas for some content. Can we meet tomorrow if you're in, and we'll go through it?" Radio silence, nothing, no reply. So I'm like, okay, a bit annoyed because Keith and I started trying to start off a business, senior player at the club. Why wouldn't you help? Someone like that. Anyway, laughing and joking in the net session the other day. So I'm like, this bloke's pretending that this isn't going on. This is wrong. So anyway, out of the blue, I basically just pulled him up on it. I was like, "Oh, what happened to that WhatsApp message the other day? Didn't fancy replying." And obviously the mood immediately changed. But I was up for this. I had it loaded for about a week, and he was like, "Oh, I was ill." I was like, "Oh, okay. What? So you can't message back?" Do you know what I mean? Like, does messages, if you're ill, can you not send a WhatsApp, or you know what I mean, kind of thing? Yeah, and then he tried to kind of, "Oh yeah, look, really sorry," and I kept it going for another 2 minutes. It was uncomfortable, but it was so on it. It was good.
I'm surprised at that. Because bear in mind, I message you and you won't reply for fucking a week.
I do.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I always message event like when I can, but yeah, nothing. Sorry, I've ranted a bit there. There's a couple. There's someone else on my radar for a massive rant as well at some point. Got that Scriven knows who I'm referring to.
I think I do. I will say, Scott Currie will become he'll be like the third coming, Chris, of like me and you. I know he's got it in him. He takes things very seriously. So when he just starts bowling more and more, it'll slowly turn. It'll be a slow burn, but he'll get there.
You dished a bit of a spray out last year, didn't you, Scott? At Leicester Northants after you got that 100.
No. Right.
Yeah, big spray that from Scott.
That's shocking. That was at the end. No, that was at the end of day one, and Fonz was asking for some open feedback, and I thought, now's as good a chance as ever because I'm gone in 2 weeks, so it doesn't really matter. I'll go down fighting.
Shots.
And then it so happened a couple of days later, I scored 100, but it was not preloaded, Wrighty.
I'm only kidding. But no, and also I think it's important that people are open and honest. And actually, it's hard sometimes, isn't it? When you feel like you're delivering messages that maybe some people won't love. But if you're all, what's the word? If it makes the boat go faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you lose a few friends along the way.
From going back to more bowling questions, whereabouts are you guys? Where do you think you are with your bowling at the moment? Do you feel like I know, Scott, you're coming back from an injury, but do you feel like you've got a lot more to give, Scriv? Scott, like with your attributes and what you can offer?
You want to go first, Scriv?
Yeah, I'll go. I still feel, I suppose, quite like young in my career-wise. I know, obviously, age-wise, you're not exactly a young player anymore. But I still feel there's a lot to learn in white and red ball, to be honest. Especially white ball-wise, I think skills, I think they can always be developed and learned. And I think, to be fair, playing with Wrighty recently, I mean, I know Wrighty always says age is just a number and stuff, but, for someone that's obviously been in the game for so long, I do love how much you still want to learn from people, and you always feel like you can keep learning, which I think is quite an interesting attribute to have. And it's probably why you've been successful for so long and kept kind of pushing, boundaries back, is because if someone has a good few games or a season or whatever it is, like you're straight away into them asking questions, or how did you do that? Or what have you done differently there? And I think, for me, I think I just need to also do that, I guess, and always pick brains. And you've kind of showed to me that in terms of leveling up games, I don't think you're ever the perfect player. You can keep leveling up and keep pushing boundaries and trying to up your ceiling as much as you can. So I'm just hopeful that I can just kind of keep trying to learn and putting it into games and getting chances. As Scott said, it's all about playing games, and I just hope I can keep getting chances to kind of put that into games and hopefully get the rewards from it.
Yeah, I'd say that I don't think none of us will ever complete the game. I don't think anyone ever will. So for as long as you're playing, for as long as you turn up every day for training, you're trying to find a way to get better, even if it's, it might not even be on the cricket pitch. You might be in the gym, or it might be getting faster or moving quicker or whatever it is. We're all trying to find ways to upskill. So I don't think you ever complete the game. And you've had some great guests on here who have sort of backed that point to the hills, that you're always trying to find a way to upskill, make yourself better. I think on a personal level, I've obviously played probably quite a fair bit more white ball cricket, and that was the big part for me about going on loan, was to get that championship experience. And there's so many intricacies, I think, to red ball bowling and championship bowling, that it varies from week to week based on fatigue or tiredness. It varies month to month on conditions. Bowling in April is very different to bowling in the middle of the summer, to then bowling again in September. And it was a great learning curve for me last year, tracking myself, my action, my progress across the championship year. And it gives you those areas where you think you can tighten up. In terms of sort of attributes, you're always trying to find that like 1%. And that, for me, maybe not necessarily seeking extra pace or anything like that. And I know that's a very topical conversation at the moment, but you're trying to almost fine tune something that you can do what you boys have done, and that's be relentless in red ball cricket. I think my own personal challenge will be about playing across different formats, and I've always maintained that what makes me good at white ball cricket would make me horrific at red ball, and then vice versa. What would make me good at red ball wouldn't be a strength of mine in white ball. So it's about trying to learn and marry those two games up, and I suppose keep developing yourself, not only on a bowling front, but your all-round package. We all bat in this chat, so it's trying to be as valuable as you can to your teammates, and then ultimately we all want to win, don't we? We've all tasted trophies over the years, some more than others and that, but it's all about winning, and it's all about enjoying that journey and that ride as a professional, isn't it? Because one day it'll all be over.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, who's got the highest batting average between us, and who's got the lowest batting average?
I think get ESPN cricket info up, but
I feel like Life Of might have the
lowest batting.
Lowest. Yeah.
Come on.
Sorry, Chris.
I think
That's
you
a
have got the
cheap
lowest. I think, what is it, 18, Chris? 18, 19?
Yeah, I tell you what did kill me was last year. So you got that 100, didn't you, doing Night Watchman? And that, like, obviously, I'm really pleased for you. But equally, I was like, oh.
Sounds like it.
No, equally, yeah. no, I was. But obviously, that was like the role that I would have been doing if you weren't there. But if I'd maybe like had a full year or whatever, and obviously I didn't play, I was a bit like, for fuck's sake.
But
and then
Wrighty,
I gave it away at the start of the year.
What would be? I wonder what your average would be, say, over the last 3 years.
It's always about 20.
Do you reckon?
It just looks better. It's a more stylish 20 these days.
Yeah.
Well, he's scored a few 50s the last few years, though, like a decent amount of 50s, no?
I've always got those 50, those, but yeah, it's no matter what, it's 20. I just look a bit more like a jinker now.
What I like about you, Wrighty, was certainly last year's like your like obsession with batting, and certainly what bats you use. I think that's great for like a guy who bats down the order, to your like obsession with cricket and with batting in general. Because like in Leicester, well, certainly I saw this. The obsession Barks with cricket bats was unbelievable. I don't know if that's like Rahan's influence, because the sticks that Rahan uses are a joke. But like Kimber was obsessed, Swindles was obsessed, Coxey, you all love cricket bats. And then when Wrighty joined the group again, he's got like these fresh grey nickel. I'll plug the sponsor. These fresh grey nickels out. I was like, this is brilliant. Like Chris Wright is obsessed with his bats, and
code down the bottom. If you want a 20% off the best kit in the world, there it is. Grey nickels, A_TBU20. Oh, TBUP20 at greynickels.co.uk. There you go. But best, I reckon. Also, good sticks, mate. To be fair,
yeah. But on the batting front, Chris, as well, I actually love that. It seems to happen every year, or it's happened 2 times now in the last 3 years, that first game of the year, Wrighty goes on and gets a good score. So against Yorkshire, he got, you did well both innings, I think. But you got that whatever it was, a not out to win the game against Yorkshire, and then against Glamorgan first game this year. Again, you got what was it, 70 odd?
Yeah.
But batted like it was, like a jinker, as you say, like Rahane. And the best bit, I think, is that then everyone's like, everyone knows that Wrighty doesn't ever face any bowlers. Like he doesn't face a bowler pre-season. His first hit against the bowler is in the game. And so you get a few of these batters. You get a few of these batters with their theories going, why am I facing bowlers in the winter? Just need Truman. I'll save it all in a game. And you see some of these batters like heads like frying a bit and stuff like that because they're thinking, oh, let's just do what Wrighty does.
Yeah, to be fair, my theory is sometimes that start of the season batting, I think the stick is a bit wild, and I don't know that you get the volume you need from it. That's especially as a lower order batter anyway. I don't think, and I think people are too good with it. Like, when do you face someone bowling from that high with that skill, with that pace?
Yeah,
and you get in some bad positions in dicey pre-season nets. I'm like, I'll go indoors and try and get out the crease and get into it a little bit. That's my theory anyway, Keith. But yeah, you'd be really pleased because that was my first hit against a bowler. It's pretty nerve-wracking though when that first ball comes down and you're trying to find it. What was I going to ask? I was going to ask something there before we talked about batting, right? It is, in all seriousness, for these two guys, what is, or is there a specific skill that you've learned recently that you think you'd recommend to someone younger that they need to get onto ASAP, that you found has meant you've done really well in these past couple of seasons? And anything?
I think on a personal level, and it's a hard thing to say to a young player, but certainly trying to find like a process away from the game. So what you do in the lead up, I think the preparation phase, what you do at training, how you're living, your lifestyle, all that sort of stuff. I think that is almost as important what you're doing off the field as what you do on the field. I think there's certainly a carryover. And last year I found that I got into a real good off-field process of how to manage myself, manage my time, that you're keeping fresh, because we know professional cricket, it's busy, it's sort of wall to wall, it can be hard to escape. But I think, how you manage yourself and your training, what that looks like. And maybe it does only come with that experience, I suppose, but finding a process that works and then sticking to that. And then, like we joked at the start, Wrighty, about like you going in the bath, but that's all kind of part of your process. And it's something that you obviously enjoy doing and that it works for you. Finding those little things that are very specific to yourself and then just sticking to it and like backing yourself to the hills. I think the lads that chop and change, they're the ones that you might see have real good patches and then they fall off, or they're out the game or whatever. Being real consistent with your preparation, the discipline every day of living as a professional, I think for me is what's one of the most important traits and characteristics of it.
Can you elaborate a little bit on maybe what a couple of your processes are that you brought in? Because I know you're quite studious, right, in terms of your research. Yeah,
for sure. And I think that's probably come through playing a lot more white ball cricket, but because I know we joke championship cricket, it's like top of off knee roll, and that's how you get wickets. But T20, certainly the last couple of years where you're bowling at players who are obviously far better than I am, you're trying to find ways to almost not get shown up, and it's not necessarily you're trying to get them out, but you're trying to find a way to shut them down, and then with that might lead to a chance or a wicket. So the night before every game, and we're very lucky, we get the analysis pack sent to us, the slideshows and the videos. But anyone who plays club cricket, you're playing at the same grounds year on year against the same teams. You know who you're coming up against. You can work out strengths and weaknesses. But I like to write things down to sort of get that in my mind and sort of rehearse that, almost like an exam type thing. You're revising in a way. And that sounds a bit nerdy and all the rest of it. But a little line here and there on the odd player to see, where their strengths and weaknesses lie, and then basically trying to bowl to their weakness. That's how I view it. Another thing off the field, me and Scriv both advocates of this, but I think we took our recovery very serious, and that was little things like getting in the pool and getting through the sauna, that sort of stuff, and making sure we're well rested and recovered for the next day's training or the next day's play. Things like that always have helped me, or certainly did in the last year.
Class. No, I love it. And what about you, Scriv? Is there anything that jumps out for you?
I mean, we spoke a lot this year about processes, haven't we? To be fair, as an actual squad at Leicester, And I think anyone that's younger, like kind of Scott alluded to there, like if you can say, oh well, I don't know what mine is, but even if you just make it there and you work out something roughly, as long as you start from somewhere and you can start and then you can build and evolve, etc. And it snowballs into something, and you keep learning from it and picking people's brains and stuff, and you kind of end up at least with some sort of template for where to almost fall back on, I guess. In terms of like any niche little things, I do enjoy the way this is from you to mark a run up. Obviously you go for the, I think that is something that anyone that struggles a bit, whatever it is, just a small way to do it. So you're always marking up from the same place. You obviously get the little, what even is it, like a peg? It's like a peg, right?
Oh mate, it's
a peg, isn't it? It's like a little peg thing, bang, in the tape measure, in the corner of the crease.
Yeah.
And every time you're putting it from the same place.
Yeah.
I stole one from Leicester.
It's
like I think the groundsman use it to peg the covers.
For the covers. Yeah.
It's brilliant. I brought it back to Hampshire, Wrighty, and the lads all commented it the other day. I was back bowling again, and the lads were like, that's brilliant. And I was like, well, that's life for Chris Wright for you. There's always something to learn.
So good.
I need to make those. To be fair, Keith, you should make them and sell them. Branded.
And brand them as well. Yeah, get your branding on there.
Although there is something about the rustic peg that I like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. What about anything skill-wise? As in, I know you focus on prep there, Scott, but in terms of on-field skills that you think are particularly useful if you want to make that transition?
Yeah. I think working out when you get to a venue, I find this in professional cricket that every ground is different. Every ground has its own unique traits. Certain places have hills or slopes, or the footholes are different, or it's softer one place, it's harder another. As soon as you get to that venue and you're out there, and I always try and warm up and bowl at both ends so you get a feel for it. I think the quicker you can get into the game, the quicker you can get yourself in a contest. And everyone in here has opened the bowling, and I think you're really good at it, right? Is that you're trying to win that contest straight away. Your first ball, you want to be on the money, and we always kind of just joke about landing it and getting it down there. But as soon as you get in that contest, and you're trying to find a way to sort of get the juices going, that for me is something that I try and pride myself on, is that you're not just sort of going through the motions. Make sure your first ball has got effort or something behind it, and you're straight into a bat or into a contest. Barks is brilliant at it with his fields and things like coming as a lefty, coming round straight away. Most batters are like, oh, I didn't account for that. I thought he'd stay over and swing it back or whatever. Or, getting yourself in the game, in the contest straight away. I think that for me is something that has stood me in good stead across my career so far.
Class. What about physically, Scriv? Because I know you pride yourself on being a 2K king, don't you?
I don't know about. I hate the Leicester 2K is awful. But it's the same old, isn't it? I think you do a lot of hard yards in the winter, and you do a lot of your hard work in the winter gym wise for getting stronger. And then I feel that a lot of the time then in the summer, games come thick and fast. It's difficult. You need to be able to recover when you're playing and stuff. So finding the time to smash a really heavy legs gym session, say, maybe isn't there, but I think it's important to still find the time just to top up at least. And even if you're not maxing out strength work, you're still ticking over legs and stuff. I would be intrigued to know the debate between like bowlers of the past compared to present bowlers in terms of like gymming and things like that, and what is lifting big weights like actually positive towards fast bowling or not. Do you know what I mean? Because you got guys like Anderson and Broad say that weren't exactly lifting huge weights in the gym compared to others that obviously nowadays young S&Cs and things like that coming through academies. They've got the lads on gym programs at the age of 14, 13 coming through, and I'd be intrigued to know what the debate is there with do you get lads on getting jacked at 14, 15, or is there like more thought process going towards like the bowling element first before actually just like the S&C stuff, if you know what I mean?
Sort of know where. So I just jump in, right?
I came in a little bit later. I just wanted to kind of carry on from where just before I ended up shooting out. But like in preparing yourself for like different scenarios and situations in games and stuff, and your routines, your pre-routines for games. I think you'll find throughout your career you go through different phases. When I first started playing with Wrighty, I was like warming up and bowling so many overs in warm-ups. Right, I don't know if you remember, we'd be out there like 9:15, and we bowled for pretty much taking out the warm-up, but till 10:30, 20 to 11.
Yeah.
But then as time went on, and this was kind of because Scott made me think about this. What I used to do is I just bowl at the end that was the most difficult in warm-ups. So I'd go with the end, which was probably could be either like uphill or against the breeze, because I wanted to get myself like a strong position when everything else is against me. So then when I did come from the other end in the game, I almost felt like I was on like painkillers. It just, everything felt great. I wasn't having to fight anything. Whereas now, kind of feel like I can just do enough because I've been through all those different phases in my career of what I've needed to do, and I kind of just probably played all those grounds enough to know what's required for what.
One of the big things I did when I was a young lad at Hampshire, and I picked it up with Fons, actually, who's obviously now head coach at Leicester. It was that when I did 12th man a lot, and when you're 12th man, it's easy to sort of grovel and sit there and, you know, pity yourself. But as an 18, 19-year-old kid, I was like, you know, it's a great opportunity. I'm traveling to all these grounds and, yeah, I'm not playing, but what I'd make sure I'd do is across the 4 days, or if it was a T20, certainly 4-day cricket, I would try and bowl at both ends so that you're not in a game yet, but by the time you come to playing there 2-3 years down the line, you've already got experience of bowling at that ground. So like that first game at Hove we just spoke about ages ago was one of the first few times I bowled at both ends there. We all know there's the up-down slope there. Essex is another one that I always struggled with initially, but I learnt to bowl at both ends through doing 12th man. And the other thing was when I go to T20 games, and if you're 12th man, I told Swindles about this last year, is that in the interval, if it's a night game, no matter if your team's batted or bowled first, always go out and take high catches under the lights just to get yourself programmed and training that one day when your chance comes, it's not alien to you and you've lived it, you've done it, albeit at less intensity, it's not a game. But actually, when you get out there in a game scenario, you've already done it. And then your body's like, oh, familiar, I've seen this before. And I think that's all like experience is with you senior guys, is you've just seen it, you've lived it over and over again. So like Barks says there, you can just get to a point where you just autopilot, you're out there, you tie your laces and you're good to go. The sooner you learn that, I think, the better.
Keith, you know, there how you've said you obviously you chose the harder end. Is it, or either of you, Chris, as well? Like, do you guys have a game in your mind where you're like, these conditions is like extremely hard to bowl in? So, do you have a game where you're like, wow, I remember bowling there and it was literally like coming into an absolute gale, or like, do you know what I mean, or just something like that? Is there one that you remember?
Yeah, Sussex away. Wrighty likes to talk about how he loves to go up the slope.
Oh no, yeah, that wasn't hard for me.
Helps him with his action. He loves to go up the slope, but for some reason he decided to go down the slope with the breeze. So I had to come up the slope at Sussex at home and against a heavy breeze. I found that pretty tough. But
I was trying to break the speed barrier.
I found that pretty tough. But it was one of those, I knew he was going to come from that end anyway. So warm-ups, I did a lot of dog work, just going up the hill and just getting used to it and just cracking on with it.
For what it's worth, I've played with both Scott and Scriv, who've seen me coming up the hill at Hove in recent times. It was only when that I was playing quick then. So I was like, yeah, I'll have a bit of this down the hill lark. Tell you what I do remember as a spell that was very tough, and it wasn't from us, but we were playing the game. Do you remember it was like, I think it was something like 40-mile-an-hour winds, Durham v Warwickshire. And Ben Stokes bowled one of his marathon spells, bowled like 10 overs in the windiest conditions and was a jet. It was like, Jesus, this is mega. And he's got that in his locker, hasn't he, every now and again? He just bowls like a freaky spell.
Into the breeze? Was he into the breeze?
I think so. And he hit Clarkey in the throat, didn't he? Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was just horrific conditions, really unpleasant. And he battled. But what I would say, the year we won the league, we played on a lot of flat pitches. There was quite a lot of games where we couldn't get a win, and we'd bowl them out, maybe back past, but then not be able to bowl them out. Kind of a similar framework you do get at Gracie at times. But I remember we played on some slabs that year. to be fair. And it probably broke my back, to be honest.
I will say, coming back to your earlier question, Scriv, I think you have just got to be smart how you top up. You can't really, in the gym, you can't really go hell for leather. You've got to just kind of make sure you've got enough energy to then go out and be as strong as you can for bowling. The reason why I say that now as well is because Wrighty was saying that we had a lot of games we drew. We had Ashley Giles at one point we'd bowl his team out and he'd get on to our S&C and get him in the gym now. And we were just like, we've just done like 22 overs, like we're cooked. I want him in the gym. So like we were pushed to kind of, our S&C was like, lads, can you just please just go in the gym? Like just look as though you're doing something. But it was pretty brutal. But yeah, it's kind of one of those, you kind of try and find the right time. Sometimes I end up doing it sometimes in a game. If we were batting first, let's say, I won the toss at 10:30, I may go in the gym and just do a little light workout just to tick it off, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a lot of research now, isn't there? And you probably get people arguing every different angle. You know, play multi-sports, lift weights, don't lift weights, do loads of running. I'm like, there's so much evidence that just contradicts everything. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know if I want to die on that hill. I think if you enjoy something, go for it. Like if you love lifting weights, I feel like it's pretty good. Then learn about it and try and lift weights that are going to help you. If you don't love it, then make sure you're good at running and stuff. I don't know.
I've got a question for Scott, as he's multi-talented. He bats, he bowls, but as part of the bowlers union, he's not a true bowlers union, Chris, unioner, because he stands at slip when he's not bowling.
Oh, he's not on the ball, not shining it.
No, I'm not sure if he's shining it or not, but I know he stands at slip, and that's normally where you get a lot of chin wagging.
Yeah, you're missing out, Scott.
What's your question, Barks?
Do you prefer standing at slip, or would you rather be part of the bowlers union, stood at mid-off chatting bowling?
Well, I know one of the great guests you've had on here, Ricky Clark, was one of the best slippers in county cricket history. So, if he can do it, then well, you know. So, no, I love slip. I love standing at slip because you don't have to go and chase the ball, and you can have a chin wag, but you've obviously got a job to do there, and it's really important. But I think I cover enough ground in T20 that I probably get the best of both worlds. So. Yeah, I don't know, mate. I like standing at slip, and I don't think I'd change that.
There's a good story with Scott and standing at mid-off, isn't there?
Yeah, Marcus Harris.
Yeah.
You might not have been here.
That was a good blow-up. That was good, man.
So Marcus Harris was obviously overseas at Leicester last year, and Marcus is a very... Right, you'll back this out on you, Scriv. Marcus is very black and white to the point. He's like sort of your archetypal Aussie, isn't he? He just sort of says it and calls it, and he doesn't care if he upsets anyone. And he's very, not brash, that's not the right word, but he's just very to the point. And I remember the first month, it was this time last year at Leicester, with the Kookaburra balls, we were properly toiling. We couldn't get wickets, and we were just out fielding. And Sussex put like 600 on us. Northants put 450, 500 on us, and we were just, really struggling to get wickets. And it always used to wind me up that Marcus Harris would stand at like mid-on and mid-off, and Scriv would do it, bless him. But like if we had to put a boundary rider out, it would end up being one of the bowlers, and Scriv was often the one that did it. Whilst Marcus Harris just stood at mid-on, like didn't even really shine the ball, didn't even take much to it. And I can't remember how the conversation happened, but he basically was like sat in the change room and said, well, when you've played 140 first-class games, you can stand wherever you want. Yeah. I just saw red, and I was like, Pete, have a word with this bloke. Honestly, like 140 games, what on, mate? But I'd always laugh about that.
Yeah, that's so good.
Get yourself a cover, do some proper work. Stood at mid off, that's where we should be.
It lifted the mood, to be fair, because like you said, we were eating dirt there for a few games, and I think like all the boys were pretty flat. There was no tunes on the change rooms, like the boys were flat, and then that happened, and everyone just kind of like got around it again. To be fair, that was funny.
That's a healthy blow up, though. Again, I'm all for it. I love seeing those when they happen. But this is a good segue, right, into mid-off's duty, ball shining. So I wonder how Hampshire's ball shining is compared to Leicestershire's at the moment, because we are on it, mate. We got me, Scriv, and Ben Mike at the moment. Elite ball shining. What are Hampshire's next crop of ball shiners like, Keith?
Well, there's obviously myself, but then Nick Gubbins likes to get involved.
That's going to be rubbish. I know now. That's crap.
No,
The governor.
He does graft with it a bit.
He's too wealthy to care about shining a ball.
No, sometimes he gets a bit carried away and wants the ball too much, and I'll get the ball at top of him. I'll get the ball at top of the mark, and like this still needs a bit more work. Which, if you're going to keep hold of it that long, I expect it to be ready to just bowl. But so I've heard Mark Starman has been amazing on it, and he's pretty good actually.
Yeah,
I know that Dorse is now at the slip, so he's at mid off and he gets into it. The funny thing is though, Wrighty, like you mentioned the three names there, yourself, Scriv, and Ben Mike. You all can or naturally do swing the ball, whereas Abbo's more like he bowls aggressive nip, so he's not necessarily worried about the state of the leather. He's just trying to keep the seam hard. So you get the ball back, and when we had Mo as well, it was exactly the same. I think it might have been a bit of a nightmare for Barks, who was trying to swing the ball. But Mo would also bowl like real aggressive wobble, use the crease really well. And you'd sort of look at the ball and you go, how on earth are we bowling with this? Because it would just have divots both sides. But I know that as long as the seam was dry and the seam was hard, they felt like they were just as much in the game as if one side was polished perfect and the other was rough. But certainly last year, I remember, yourself and Scriv being really hot on it, and that helps you out a lot, doesn't it, when you need to get wickets?
It does. I think you just got to be careful of who does it, because sometimes they get too much moisture on the ball and it goes soft. That's one of the most annoying things, when someone's just really going for it and you're like, you've just ruined this ball now. It's just become soft. You're not getting the bounce you want. The swing's not really there the way you want it. It can be quite annoying.
It's it's fine lines. It's definitely a skill that's worth knowing how to do. But equally, like you say, if you know as an individual, maybe you don't need to worry so much, like you said about Abbo and Bassi, then that's mint. You know, one of my favourite things, and I did it today, which was great. I love calling out someone that's just holding on to it, doing nothing. So I had a little pop at the guy at cover today in the second tee. Was just basically holding the ball, just doing nothing. I was like, give it here. Like literally just holding it, doing nothing. And then me and Woodsy at mid-on, mid-off looking to shine it for this lad. Yeah, and he's just dicking about. Like, come on, mate. Like, you felt the ball now. Pass it round. Get on with it.
There's nothing worse. Slip fielders get it and they start doing little 1-2s to each other. Oh, you take it. Give it here.
Yeah, load of rubbish.
Or some Keno that throws it from mid-on into the keeper. And you're
that does my head in. Why throw it to a
oh.
keeper in Red Bull cricket? Relax, lads. We've got all day. Like, you don't need to do that. Yeah.
No, totally. Oh, dear. We've been going now for well over an hour. We're probably getting towards the point which we should wrap it up. I think Keith and I normally try to keep it below an hour. It's probably doubly important with you two on as well. We don't want to send the listeners to sleep. So I'm kidding. But is there anything else that we should have discussed that we've missed?
Probably. We did talk about food shops for quite a while, Chris.
That was the best bit of this whole chat. I love that. I love that Sainsbury's chat. And also we got to talk about your Wagyu from M&S. It was a good time.
What I got a question for you two boys. What have you learned since doing this? Because obviously that's a silly one, but you've obviously had some great guests on here, some really good bowlers, good coaches from different sort of walks of life. What are the things that you've picked up that you didn't expect to learn, or what's been the standout moments?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
For me,
first guest to ask us a question.
Yeah, for me, I would say there's no full correct way of doing it. Everyone has their own ways of doing it. It may look similar, but it'll be interpreted in a different way. The one I learned the most off, just from a bowling point of view, was when Dale Stair was talking about he'd have specific nets for certain reasons. Like, I'm just going to bowl quick. I'm not bothered about where it's going. And then he would have his net where it's about his skill and then about his areas. To keep his body trained in different ways. Whereas, don't get me wrong, he's had a career where he's had more time to prep and put things in place. It's a bit different for us when we're playing a lot more games. But I thought that was real good management of being a professional bowler.
Yeah.
But,
Just clever, isn't it? But to be fair, what was amazing about that? So obviously he's a gun, right? And you could argue, couldn't you, that he'd be the most picked bowler ever if you were doing a World 11. The week before we had Abbo on, so I don't know Abbo like you guys will know Abbo.
Yeah.
And coming off that, I was like, I've wasted my whole career here. I should just be, I should be trying to swing it for like all this time. But then we had Stain on the week after, and Stain was like, swing it. I want to control the swing. Seems more random. And you're like, okay, I can calm down a bit now. But it is like Keith said, no one says the same exact stuff. The trends, which interestingly, if you follow different people online, the trend is a lot of people at some point seem to put a big training block in where they basically groove a stock ball and smash areas. But then I've seen people online arguing that no ball's the same and you shouldn't practice like that. I'm like, there's a lot of good bowlers here that are suggesting that's not true.
Tell you what I've learned as well, actually, and this is more from what you see online to what guests we've had, is that no one's ever really talked about bowling, trying to bowl the speed of light, and that being the thing that's made them the amazing person that they are. There's not been a massive emphasis, whereas online it's a lot about making you quicker, this, that, the other. And actually, I think the art of bowling and learning how to actually bowl has been more important than trying to bowl quick. Just trying to bowl quick. That doesn't make you a better bowler. We did a podcast on it. Was it last week, Wrighty?
Yes, that's on the Patreon or the subscription service. But that's a good point.
That's been a big one for me. Is no one's ever really mentioned about how they train to bowl as fast as they can, and it be the main thing that's made them super successful.
I tell you what, Scott, I think you would really like. I don't know if you've listened to any of our episodes, but we did one with a sports aerodynamicist, Aaron Briggs. And actually, one of the first things he said was that you should try on both sides of the ball. And Keith and I were like, oh my God, our minds are just blown. The info in that, if you want to understand the art of swing and when and how it happens, when it might not happen, that is a cool episode, because actually it makes swing almost feel solvable. Do you know what I mean? If you know the conditions to try and swing it, you can exploit it. Equally, you know when just to go pure wobble seam. It was freaking awesome. So I really love that, to be honest. And that's full of learnings in that one, and all those little wives' tales you hear about how and why it swings. He kind of either smashed them or confirmed them, which was pretty cool. Yeah. Right. Nice. Let's wrap it up there. It's been a long time. Look, absolute pleasure. It's been great fun having you on. I need to get in a shower because I've just come straight from a cheeky 3 for 2s, hopped in the car, and I'm stinking my little office up. So I need to get in a shower. But thanks ever so much. If you like this episode, then please, and you want more of the Bowlers Union, check out our Patreon, or we're now on Apple Podcast subscription service too. If you want more than just the one a week, get involved. We'd really appreciate that. But right now, we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you all soon, or hear you all soon, I suppose. Take it easy.
Cheers, guys.
Bash.